Hi guys and welcome back to a new video. My name is Martina and this is the Secret Craft Room. In today's video I'm going to show you how I made this Halloween-themed Tic Tac Toe game box. Please don't forget to subscribe and give my video a thumbs up if you liked it, because it really helps me out a lot. And without further ado, let's get into the video. The first thing I did was to cut out the template. Then I cut out 2 pieces of it from cardboard, and I also cut out the square in one of them. Then I decided how tall I wanted the sides of the box to be and cut out 8 pieces for the box and 8 shorter pieces for the lid. I made mine 8 centimeters tall for the box and 2 centimeters tall for the lid. Next I cut out 5mm strips from thin cardboard, and then I cut them to fit the sides inside of the square. Before gluing the sides to the base, I cut at an angle at the edges of each piece, and then I glued them to the base. I also used masking tape to hold everything together while the glue set. Then I glued the strips of thin cardboard inside of the square cutout. Then I taped the square in place from the bottom side, and then I added hot glue all around. Next I covered both the lid and the box with newspaper and Mod Podge. Then I cover them with crepe paper and Mod Podge to add texture. To add even more texture, I mixed black acrylic paint with baking soda and painted both pieces with it. Next I taped the lid to the box to secure it while adding the hinges and the lock. I made tiny holes for the screws. Then I glued the hinges in place using super glue. I also added a little dab of super glue for each of the screws. I did the same thing for the lock, except I used hot glue for the main pieces, then super glue for the screws. Next I glued 8 of these wooden beads to the bottom of the box as feet. I used Mod Podge and added thin strips of toilet paper where the beads and the box meet to secure it even more. Then I painted the feet with paint mixed with baking soda. Next I cut out the whole bunch of 5mm strips from thin cardboard. Then I sanded down the inside edges of the box and the lid. Next I marked out the squares on the top and painted them black and white. As you can see, I've already painted the box at this point, but I will paint it black shortly and repaint the colors later. Next I glued on the strips of thin cardboard to all the edges and corners. I tried to paint only the cardboard strips black, but it took way too long, so I decided to paint the whole thing black instead. This way the paint will also sort of lock in the strips better. Then I used white glue to glue on these tiny nail art studs, and then I painted those with black paint too. Next, I marked out 3 equally wide stripes on each side of the lid, and then I painted them black and white. Next I painted every other side of the box purple and the other sides green. Then I dry brushed them with a lighter shade of the same color. Next I painted the top of the lid orange. Then I mixed black and silver to make a gunmetal color and painted the black edges with that. Then I dry brushed them with a dark silver shade to make them look more like they're made of metal. I also painted the lock and the hinges. Then I cover the whole thing with a coat of Mod Podge. Next I cut out strips of this black velvet fabric for the inside of the box and lid. I cut out a 9 cm wide strip for the box and a 4 cm wide strip for the lid. I made sure that the strips were a little bit longer than I needed. Next I folded and glued down 2 cm of one of the edges on both pieces. This means that for the thinner strip I folded it in half. Then I glued them in place on the inside of the box. Next I used the template once more to cut out 2 pieces of thin cardboard. I cut off a few millimeters around the one for the base and a little bit more for the one for the lid. Then I covered them with the same black velvet fabric. Then I glued them in place. For the lid I added some thicker cardboard pieces around the edges first. Next I cut off a piece of this gunmetal colored chain and glued it to the box. I used a pointer tool to loosen the fabric from the cardboard in one corner, and then I glued the chain in place using hot glue. I made sure that I really pushed the chain as far as possible between the fabric and the cardboard to make sure it will hold. The last step for the box was to glue tiny round pieces of black felt to the bottom of each foot. I used air dry clay to make the little pumpkins and ghosts. I made 5 of each and tried to make each of them different. Then I added a little piece of metal wire on top of each pumpkin and let them dry. For the ghosts with arms that will stick out, I also added metal wire and let them dry. Then I built up the ghost's arms as well as the stem on the pumpkins. I also added tiny teeth to a couple of the pumpkins. Once completely dry, I painted them. I painted the pumpkins orange and then mixed orange with brown to add some shading. Then I painted their eyes, mouth and nose with black paint and the stem with brown paint. I painted the ghosts white and then I mixed a light grey to make some shading. Then I painted their eyes and mouths black. Once completely dry, I added a coat of Mod Podge to each piece. Then I glued brown felt to the underside of the pumpkins and white felt to the underside of the ghosts. I cut off the excess fabric and everything was all done. Please don't forget to subscribe and give my video a thumbs up if you liked it. Thank you guys so much for watching and I'll see you in my next video.